Electricity Company of Ghana, joins me on the line to help us appreciate really the extent of the problem. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. You say that we are suffering maintenance issues rather than fuel-related matters. Machines go off abruptly, and so it appears this outage is known, or the outage is predictable. What kind of maintenance issues are we talking about? Can't the maintenance be scheduled so that people know when their lights will go off?
Thank you. Good evening, Shalom. What I can say is, yes, the maintenance was scheduled. What had occasioned this incident was that the emergency gas valve of one of the IPP power plants went off. And as you know, there is a gas valve. The necessary precautionary measures had to be taken. And because of that, we lost that amount of power. The truth be told, on the other side, when we were doing this, the other plants that could have helped are also on maintenance. So this was our sure bet of power. So the requisite things were happening right. We didn't have a shortage until this happened. I must admit, when it happened at the upstream of this whole value chain. So when it finally got to us that we could put out a statement, it was a little bit too late. And as a company, we do admit and accept the blame in this. It's not our duty to not give you power, because the truth is, when we bill you, that's how we can pay the IPP. That's how we can collect and then pay the IPP. So it's in our best interest to distribute power and not to take power away from you.
But this valve issue you talked about, when did this happen?
It happened, I think, 48 hours ago.
But the issue about the intermittent power outages, it didn't just start 48 hours ago. Far back in January, we've had similar issues.
So way back in January, the electricity has a seasonal role that it plays. Way back in January, we had a lot of cable faults, which is actually not unusual. But this time around, instead of it being more on the distribution network side, it had a little bit to do, instead of it being on the low voltage network side, it had a lot to do with the high voltage side. And most of them were underground cables. I have to take this opportunity to say put out a big apology to the good people of Ashanti region, because they suffered the most with this underground cable fault that we had, the high voltage one. When we were trying to find through the SCADA where we could block the issue and fix it, somebody has built on the underground cable. So we had to find a way to bypass and also sort this problem out as quickly as possible. And it did take some time. So we with those outages, we used to talk to them about it, but it looks so rampant because the more you try to shift the load to another network, the network becomes overloaded. So you can't really sustain it. So some parts were in darkness for quite some time, and they were informed, but it was still an unbearable period. So we are quite sorry. Now comes to the situation that got us to where we are now. We as a company do admit that during the very hot temperature times, we suffer certain things that are called jumper cuts. Those jumper cuts are very rampant, and it's just basic, science. When it heats up during the day and it cools down, heats up, cools down, expanding and contracting of metal, what then happens? At some point, it snaps. So we just have to be on top of our game to solve these maintenance issues or maybe what I say, these accidents that do happen. Somebody will try and compare it and say, but this doesn't happen in other countries. But what you forget is that those countries have summer for just 3 months. We have summer all year round. So it's been happening all year round, the cooling and the heating, and then at some time you have all of these things happening. So it's just a combination of things that have led to this. But in truth, we do have the requisite fuel. We do also have the requisite capacity, but on the said day, we suffered something that we didn't plan for, and the communication was bad, and we are sorry.
Yes, I mean, you just said that, you just have to be on top of your game to ensure that, we don't have these matters occurring frequently. Is that an admission that you are yet to get to the top of your game? Is that an admission that you are not operating at your top level yet?
Yeah, it's true. ECG is not operating at this top level because we are not getting the requisite funds, especially from our customers. The rate at which we are expecting customers to be honest enough to pay for the electricity they consume is not what we get. We have to always go out there and put the requisite manpower that should be doing something else towards collection. You understand? And then now we can collect and pay for the requisite things that we need to actually do all of this intensification work. Look, the problem of the national distributor is both ways. It's a responsibility on the citizens who are our customers, and also the responsibility on us as a company to deliver. It's a symbiotic relationship. Because every single thing our customers need costs money. How do we get the money?
I see. So how long are we going to be enduring this valve maintenance issue that you say is causing the recent outages?
Salom, that problem has Sen Power is back on. The tide has been is calm now. Since yesterday, if you realize yesterday we had a very normal evening, and we are believing strongly that today too, we are going to have a normal evening, and we believe that the problem has been fixed and we are going to have a smooth sailing from now onwards. As you can see, the weather is also changing a bit, which also adds to it. Look, most people will not even realize. Beverage companies know that when it's hot, that is their ceiling. With us as a utility company, when it's cold, demand is low. When it's hot, demand is very high, and it puts a lot of pressure on our systems. But that being said, we do, through our hard work and effort, we have been able to purchase all the requisite materials and things that we need to finish all of these intensification issues. One of our biggest problems now is that most of our transformers are overloaded. We found them out after the fact. If it hadn't been for our issues that we had in Somanya and in Koboland, we, ECG as a company, would have even realized that there are electricians around that could add people to a transformer with no recourse to ECG. Others may argue that, it's actually even your staff. Well, it is our staff. Did you follow up to know whether the right things have been done? So with all what is going on now, there's a symbiotic relationship. Hands can be pointed at us, fingers can be pointed at us, all we want. But at the end of the day, there's a responsibility that goes both ways. When we can't do it on our own, if there are bad people in ECG, report them. Let them lose their jobs. Let's get in the right people to do the jobs. I'm not going to use this platform to discuss our difficulties, but some of the issues that are going on, I would also pray and indulge everybody that let's always come to the source. As we know, counsel, in law school, one of the things we learn the most is whenever you speak, you must have an authority. If you have people churning out numbers, saying this is what was shared, that was what was shared, what is the authority? Is it on a gridco sheet? Is it on a VRA sheet? Or based on what are you saying this was the amount of power that was shared?
I see. I understand.
Let's not allow numbers to just be thrown out there for what it is, because we might end up just throwing our own child out with the bathwater.
That's well noted. But how much of power did we shed in this last 48-hour outage?
In my candid opinion, and from my records I have, it was about 280.
I see. 280 megawatts, and that you say has been resolved now, so we are back to normal.
We are okay. Yes.
Very well. Let's talk about your debt recovery drive. How is that going? You know, we've seen
when you started this, I know exactly where you're going.
we've seen you cut power to some key institutions. We saw Accra Academy, we saw a few secondary schools, and now we saw Parliament. Your men said Parliament owed them about 23 million. Parliament has come out to say that is not true. In actual fact, they may not even be owing you at all because they made some payments to you a couple of days ago. Can you confirm to me whether your institution has received payment from Parliament through the GIFMIS system?
So I would like to use this opportunity to thank the Speaker of Parliament for his timely effort in reconciling this issue. Also, the Majority Leader of Parliament. I'd like to say a big thank you to him for his assistance, and also the Chief Whip. What actually transpired is, it is true on our records, they owe us 23 million. If you tell someone that you've paid and you do not have a receipt to show that you've paid, and my system doesn't show that you've paid, Council, have you paid? So it was a matter of, they were saying that they paid. We didn't have the records of it. And later, there is a technicality to it, but I do not want to put blame anywhere. But I'll just say that we are in possession of 13 million out of the 23 million Ghana cedis that they owe. Conversations are far advanced. But you know what, just so there's no, one thing I've learned, instead of, so that this whole conversation is not skewed, is that when you make a payment on the gift mix system, that doesn't mean that the payment has been effected or it has hit an account. And that was the technical challenge involved.
So as we speak, you have received that, just to confirm?
Yes.
I see. But talk to us about how you do your operations or your disconnections. Parliament is such a big institution, third arm of government. They were in session, Parliament was working normally, and your people just went to disconnect them. We understand there are people in the lift and all of that. Couldn't you have told them that you are going off? For them to say, no, come and see, we've paid.
Salom, you said something. Parliament was what?
The third arm of government?
Yeah, and they were what?
They were in session.
And that means they were what?
They were working.
So what the thing that ECG did to that, what is that?
So ECG was working.
So you see, if the more we don't collect, the easier for everybody to point their hand at the utility to say, we are not efficient. We are not collecting enough. We are not doing the right thing. But the truth of the matter is this. Office of Government Machinery, I must say a big thank you to the President of the Republic of Ghana and the Minister for Finance, because where I went up to them to have the same discussion with them, and the President instructed, and we have been fully paid. So right now, if the Presidency, Office of Government Machinery, and a few other government installations that are critical have paid, and now Parliament has also paid, what is the excuse for us, the average people, why we are not paying our bills?
I see.
That is the whole idea, because now everybody needs to realize that we need to prioritize the payment of the electricity bills, because the energy sector debt is not going to pay for itself. We cannot always be chasing down only the prepaid customers to make sure that they are paying their bills or purchasing enough electricity for the whole value chain. Most of these issues are happening with the postpaid customers. They don't prioritize the payment of these bills. Also, that being said, that doesn't mean that the prepaid customers are absolved of blame. Some of them have bypassed the meters in their homes. They do not allow us to visit the meters. The conversation is this year, every meter has to be visited. Every meter, and the integrity of the meter has to be checked. Those who think the meter belongs to them because they paid some money, it is not true. It's written on the meter, property of the Electricity Company of Ghana. That meter, we have to be given the opportunity. The staff will come. If you stop them, they will drop your service cable from the line. We need to take some of these things serious, because it's very easy for us to point fingers at the other side rather than looking at ourselves to know that we have a responsibility. So the whole exercise has a morality aspect to it, because guess what? The institution called ECG is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. On one side, it has a social impact, and on the other side, it's expected to make profit. When you spoke about the Accra story, so if with the way people were complaining, so does that mean that Accra should be treated differently from Asankragua SHS? We need to allow fairness to prevail. We need to take things seriously. We need to know that when you prepare a budget for the year and there's a line item that says utilities, let's commit that money to the utility, because the utility also needs money to operate.
I see. In fact, Parliament is actually the second arm of government. I did say third, but that's fine. But the issue about schools and hospitals, we know that schools, for example, senior high schools, the issue about free SHS, etc., they do not generate their own money. Money comes from somewhere. So why don't you tackle it from the source, but you rather go and disconnect the schools with about 3,000, 4,000 young boys and girls, disconnect, and then they are in the dark. That raises security issues. So why don't you deal with the Ghana Education Service or the Ministry of Education rather than the schools?
Again, my brother, we are not that callous. If we keep letting it slide, what are the losses of ECG? When we look at it on the other side, and we want to even raise human rights issues, we want to talk about comfortability, we want to talk about all those things, what then happens to the utility? How do we make the utility look? It's a shared responsibility. You can paint a picture of the fact that, oh, the student, it's not fair to the student, but is it fair also to the utility? It's not fair to the utility. So if things have to be done for people to sit up, let's allow for those things to happen and let people sit up, so that the next time it happens again, we will know that somebody took their eye off the ball, so that we can hold the right people responsible.
I see. So talk to me about, you mentioned the issue about prepaid, saying that a lot of the problems come from the postpaid people. How about what's the policy? Because we understand some time ago that all users, particularly domestic and or residential users, were to be migrated onto the prepaid. What has changed? What is the situation as we speak? Is that policy still the case?
The policy is still the case, but that policy costs money. Meters are not free. They cost money. How do we get the money to move everybody to prepaid? You get what I mean? We need money to purchase these meters. Everywhere you go, when there's a big problem for anybody to talk about ECG, is I applied for it. Every time is a meter issue. But we need money to purchase these meters. And if people are consuming and they are not paying, and they bypass meters and they are not paying, how do we raise this required amount of money? As I keep saying, it's a moral fight. We seem to think it's okay. We'll talk about it today. It will go back, and then the whole thing keeps going on again. It's a huge moral fight, and we need to do something about it.
Very well. Thank you so much, Managing Director, ECG, Samuel Dubik Mahama Esquire. Thanks so much for speaking to us on Eyewitness News.